Okay, good afternoon. Cheers for Refuah Shalema, Yehuda Chaim and Esther, Sarah Refuah Shalema, and Leila Nishmas, William and Helen, Rochla Bas Yosef, Dov ben Avraham, Tzvi Dov ben Chaim Pesach, Yitzchak ben Sora, Devorah Bas Yitzchak, Avraham ben Mordechai David, Reuben ben Shmuel, Shoshana Bas Elchanan, Yeshua ben Shmuel, Reuben ben Shmuel, Chana Golda Bas Yisrael, and Chaim ben Fega, Yaakov ben Yitzchak, Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Rochel Bas Yosef, Eliezer ben Yaakov, Chaim ben Gedalia, Zamalei ben Moshe, Chaim Eliyahu ben Yosef Moshe, Amichai ben Yaakov, Gedalia ben Tzvi Ruvain, Leila Nishmatam. Amazing. You take a look at the Haftorah this week. It's like ripped from today's headlines. You have the books in front of you. It's the Haftorah, Isaiah 60. It's the Haftorah, Parshat Thavo. If you don't have a book, please look in with your neighbor. It's the Haftorah, Parshat Thavo. It's Isaiah 60. He says, Kumi Oiri, rise and shine, Ki bo orech, your light has come. Wow. Now, what does he mean by that? Kumi Oiri, rise and shine, Ki bo orech, for your light has come. Now, Pasuk Gimel, V'hol chogoyim la'orech, all the nations are going to walk by your light. What is he saying over here? That the nations of the world will ask us to enlighten them. You hear this? How do you get water from the air? The world asked the Jewish people, show me, how do you get water from the atmosphere? So how did Isaiah know this 2,800 years ago? V'hol chogoyim la'orech. The Goyim will ask for your enlightenment, he says. Teach us how to manufacture water from the atmosphere. Show us the way. Vase. Who invented vase? Show us the way. The Goyim will be begging us to enlighten them. Pasuk 4. Su'u saviv einayich. What does that mean? Open your eyes and look around. Uri and see, kulam nitbetu ba'alach. All the Jews are gathering themselves together. Bonayich merachok yavo. Your children, your sons and your daughters are all, I'm coming home, I'm coming home. That's what it says here, Mikimia. Every year we have all nefesh b'nefesh is, they're maxed out. They're running out of money. It's not a joke. Nefesh b'nefesh is running out of money. Too many olim, they don't have enough money to pay out. So David, look at this Haftorah. Open up your eyes and look around, says the prophet. They're all gathering together. Bonayich merachok yavo. Your sons will come and your daughters will come from all over. We're living this prophecy. Incredible. Now, if you go down to 15, Pasuk 15, Tachas yoytech azuva asnua. Instead of being hated and despised, v'samtich legon olam, I will make you for eternal pride, says God. In verse 15, instead of being hated and despised by the UN and the EU, v'samtich legon olam, I will make you the pride of the world.
Anytime today would be good.
Amen.
Now, look at Pasuk 16. If you don't fasten your seatbelts, you'll fall off. Pasuk 16. V'yanak chalev goyim, you will suckle the milk of the nations. What does that mean? You will suckle, what do they say, nurse? What do they say? Nurse from the milk of the nations.
From the breast of kings.
Oh, what does that mean? Well, we got $38 billion from the USA aid. That's a lot of milk. The United States granted, under Obama still, a $38 billion package.
Wow.
It was last year during this Haftorah. Buddy, I'm not making it up. Yeah. Last year, this Haftorah, when we read this Haftorah, that you will nurse from the milk of the nations, that week, Obama announced a $38 billion aid from the U.S. That's some cash cow, would you say, Avi? And Isaiah already predicted it almost 2,800 years ago.
Why did he do it?
Why did he do it? I don't know. He did it. Obama did it. Last year we had this Haftorah.
There's Price to pay for it.
Okay?
It wasn't up to him, it was up to Congress.
You will nurse. That's a lot of milk. Would you say? You'll say a lot of milk, right? Cash cow. Now look at verse Yud Ches.
There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Lo yishama od Hamas ba'artzech. No longer will Hamas be heard in your land. Headlines in the Jerusalem Post yesterday.
Yeah.
Hamas is asking for what? Peace.
No, ceasefire.
Long term. So look what he says. Kawinki dinky, Rabbi Avram. I'm not making this up. Kawinki dinky, you see with your own eyes. Got to look at the Hebrew. 18, Maddie. Lo yishama od Hamas bi'artzech. No longer will a Hamas be heard in your land. The very week that the Hamas came out with the headlines, they're asking for a long-term ceasefire. They're begging us. So how did he know this? Isaiah 28 centuries ago. Gee, I don't think it's a kawinky dinky. Now it gets even better. Okay? It gets even better if you go to verse 21. The Amech Kulam Tzadikim. God tells Isaiah, your nation are all tzadikim.
The front page of the paper.
Now,
It says in the front page of the
again, you see Yehuda Lev? Front page of the paper, the rabbis say the Reformed Jews are no good.
That was terrible.
That was terrible. And Isaiah doesn't believe. Va'amech kulam tzadikim.
Show Isaiah to that rabbi.
So the Rabbi Isaiah, Yossi, Rabbi Yossi, it's amazing.
Rabbi Amar.
It's amazing.
What about the four rabbis who
There's
didn't
still
take the
Jews,
test
Rabbi
and aren't
Sprecher,
really
don't put them
rabbis?
down.
It's in today's paper too.
Va'amech kulam tzadikim.
He's fine with it.
All your nation are tzaddikim. How could that be? I don't know about you. I ain't no tzaddik. Right? So how could God tell him, your people are all tzaddikim? So this question was asked by my Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. I remember the date, it was 1986. He asked this question. And I wrote down what he said. He says, yes, compared to our neighbors, we are all tzaddikim. Compared to our neighbors, we're all tzaddikim. And he said, we are an island of chesed in a sea of savages. To quote Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky in 1986. Now, how did he know this? 1986, they weren't so savage yet.
Yes, they were.
Weren't they so savage in 1986? They were not so savage like now.
His yeshiva was there, was.
Yiddish Maddie.
I lived there. He was my rabbi then.
He was my Rosh Yeshiva.
South Shore Yeshiva.
South 3rd Street. I lived across the street. I rolled out of bed. I was in yeshiva. In Williamsburg, not Virginia. I rolled out of bed. I was in yeshiva. So, you hear what he says? Compared to our neighbors, an island of chesed, a sea of savages, he said. The chesed that we do, even with our enemies. This week, Conan O'Brien was in Israel, and he went to the Tzfat hospital, and he was amazed how we treat our Syrian enemies. He was shocked. Conan O'Brien. Va'amech kulam tzadikim. Yes, we are tzadikim. When you compare us to our neighbors, to our peace partners,
Spent $1 million to Houston.
we are tzadikim. In Israel, whenever there's a disaster, the first responder, who's there? First response team. Who's there? Israel. Haiti, Brazil, wherever the disaster, Texas, Florida. Va'amech kulam tzadikim, said my rabbi, Rabbi Yaakov, yes. We are tzadikim. And this guy, Conan O'Brien, he's a new Johnny Carson. He couldn't believe, Avi, how we treat our Syrian enemies, the care that we give them. It's just not normal. So yes, va'amech kulam tzadikim. And then he goes on to say, when will Mashiach come? The last verse in 22. Be'ito achishena. In her time, I will hasten her. Isn't that the last verse in 22? The last two words? When will Mashiach come? Be'ita, in her time. Achishena, I will hasten her. So it seems to be a contradiction. If it's a hasten her in time, right? So Talmud Sanhedrin deals with this. If we get our act together, Mashiach God will hasten it. If we don't, chas v'sholem, by the year 6000, what? The jig is up. The jig is up by the year 6000. So if you do your exercise and you take a spirulina, we might make it. You know, now we're in the year 5777. Be'itach ishena. But the Zohar says something incredible on this verse. Are you sitting down, Shelley? Be'itach ishena. When the time comes, I will hasten it, says the Zohar. Before Mashiach comes, time will feel like it's going fast forward. Anybody you speak to says, what's going on? It's Friday again? It was just Friday. It's Rosh Hashanah again? So the Zohar says, don't get nervous. Be'itach ishena. On this verse, the Zohar says, before Mashiach comes, when the time comes, I will speed up time. I will hasten it. Time will feel like you're going fast forward. And that's exactly what's going on. Everybody you speak to, they say, Hazman tas. How do you say that in Hebrew? Time flies. You know, why did the moron throw a clock out the window? He wanted to see time fly. That joke is so old it has a beard on it. But isn't that incredible? Time is flying because the end is coming near. Based on this verse in Isaiah, according to the Zohar, when the end is near, when her time comes, I will fast forward time. And that's why everybody you speak to say, what's going on? Time is like flying by. The Rambam doesn't mention anything about Mashiach ben Yosef. The Rambam only speaks about what? Mashiach ben David. That's all separate shir though. Why Maimonides doesn't mention nothing about Mashiach ben Yosef, he only speaks about Mashiach ben David. But let's take a look at the beginning of the Parsha and see current events in the Parsha. Ki Thavo. Ki Tova Yal Haaretz. That's Devarim 26. Devarim 26, Pasuk 1, Deuteronomy 26:1. When you come to the land of Israel, v'yirishta v'yishafta ba. The Ramban asked, should have said, there's a mitzvah to live here. Why do you have
1069 in the blue book.
1069 in the blue book? And in the gray book, it's what? 322. So you come to the land of Israel, it says, v'yirishta v'yishafta ba. You shall possess her and live in her. So Nachmanides ask, why the two verbs? It's a mitzvah to live here. Why do you have to say v'yirishta? Says the great Nachmanides, writing the year 1265. It's not just a mitzvah to live in the land, there's a mitzvah to have Jewish sovereignty in the land. V'yirishta, v'yishafta ba. You have to possess the land, you have to have a Jewish government. That's a separate mitzvah than living here. So I think the Ramban would say Hallel on Yom Ha'atzmaut, even though he was super Haredi. There's a positive mitzvah to live here. There's another mitzvah besides living here, Avi, to have a Jewish government, the Yerishta. And therefore there's an extra verb there to have sovereignty here and then to live here. And then the Torah goes on with the mitzvah of what? Of Bikurim. And the Bereshis Rabbah, Medrash makes a strange statement. B'schus Bikurim Nivra Olam. The entire world was created only for the mitzvah of what? Bikurim. Where the farmer takes his fruit up to the Beis HaMikdash and he sings the praises of Eretz Yisrael. Why is that such an important mitzvah that the Medrash says the entire world was created only for what? The mitzvah Bikurim. So what's the mitzvah Bikurim all about, David? Hakorat HaTov. Hakorat HaTov, we have to praise God for the schus of what? Of living in Pisgat Zev. I mean in Ashkelon. Sha'arei Chesed. You hear this? Every day, we'll see soon, you have to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the gift that keeps on giving. What's that? Living in Eretz Yisrael. And the mitzvah Bikurim expresses that mitzvah Hakorat HaTov. And that's the ikar of Yahadut, to express gratitude and appreciation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for living in the Holy Land. And therefore, the Medrash says that the whole universe was created for the mitzvah Bikurim. Expressing gratitude for the delicious fruits and veggies you have in Israel, and for the schus of what? Living in Eretz Yisrael. And the Bach says something incredible, the Orach Chaim, every time you eat the produce of Eretz Yisrael, you are ingesting the Shekhinah. Isn't that incredible?
That's why it's so good.
You're ingesting the Shekhinah. So says the Bach and the Tur Arachayim. Incredible. And when you bring the mitzvah Bikurim, you acknowledge HaKadosh Baruch Hu's goodness to us for the delicious produce of Eretz Yisrael, and for what? For the schus of living in Eretz Yisrael. And that's Hakara Satov, and that's the secret of existence, to express gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The secret of being happy. Everybody wants to be happy. Avi, don't worry, be happy. What's the secret to be happy? You know, hafochba, vafochba, the kulaba. What does that mean, Benjamin? If you want to know, everything is in the Torah. Look at verse 11. 26:11, the samachta b'chol hatov. The secret to being happy is to rejoice with all the good that Hashem gave you. See, people are depressed because they can't focus on what they have. They always look at what the other guy has. The samachta b'chol hatov. Every one of us has so much good in life. Focus on the good that you have in life, and then you'll be able to be happy. Accent the positive. Samachta b'chol hatov. Everyone has so much good in his life. Hashem Elokecha, that the Lord your God gives you. Focus what you have, and you'll be able to count your blessings. But people are miserable. They always look at what the other guy has. So you can't happy what you have. So that's the secret. The Samachta b'chol hatov, says the Medrash. There's a pasuk in Mishlei 18. Motza isha, motza tov. If you really want to be happy in life, you got to get a wife. The Samachta b'chol hatov, says Mishlei 18. Motza isha, motza tov. You found a good wife, you found tov. Yosef, what's the best thing about being married? You're never alone. What's the worst thing about being married? You're never alone. Matzah isha, matzah tov, says Mishlei 18. Wow.
That's what he thought he called that.
Why?
Be alone.
What? I want to be alone, what? So we praise God for Eretz Zavas, a land flowing with milk and honey, a land flowing with milk and honey. Like Rabbi Shalom Gold always says, if you want to feel the Shekhinah, go to the Kotel. You want to see the Shekhinah, go to Machna Yehuda. An explosion of what? Of sight and sound, delicious fruit, the smells and the fruits and the veggies. Now look, the variety. Every fruit has its own color, its own odor, its own smell, its own taste. Why did God do that? Everything could have looked and tasted like a potato, and we'd still eat it, right, David? But why did God have to go to the trouble of a red, shiny red orange, a green apple, a shiny red apple, right? A mango, each one gift wrapped in its own skin, a delight for the what? The sight, the what? The smell and the taste. Why did God have to do that? We'd eat potatoes no matter, right? You have to eat potatoes. It demonstrates how much God loves mankind. Wow. Look how much God loves me. He gives me such a smorgasbord of what? Of fruits and veggies, each with their own smell, their own taste, dazzling to the sight, just to entertain me, buddy, just to entertain me. That's what the mitzvah Bikurim is all about. Hakarat hatov to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Interesting. So the farmer, when he brings the Bikurim, he makes a speech, and when he gives his Truma and Maisa, he makes a speech, and the speech is called Vidui. Vidui means confess. The word Vidui, what do you do on Yom Kippur? You confess. So why does the Talmud refer, a person gives his Truma and Meiser, he gives his tithes to the Kohen, to the Levi, to the poor person, and he makes the statement, and that's called Vidui Meiser. But he's being a good boy, Ira. What's he confessing about? He's giving his truma, he's giving his ma'aser, he's giving his bikurim. So why is it called vidui? Vidui means what sin am I doing that I have to confess? I'm a good guy. Says the great Soloveitchik, Rav Soloveitchik. Vidui, tshuva, vidui, right? If you want your vidui to be accepted on Yom Kippur, you have to be a chesed person. Only a caring chesed person who gives his tithes that he has to give, he's able to do vidui. That's why it's called vidui ma'aser, says Rav Soloveitchik. If you want your vidui, your tshuva to be accepted, make sure you're a chesed person. Make sure you're a giving person. And that's a guarantee that your vidui will be what? Accepted. Therefore it's called vidui ma'aser. This parsha is always read right before the Yomim Noraim. It's a guarantee. You want your vidui on your Yom Adin to be accepted? Be a chesed person. David, you know that, right? You practice that. You elevate the soul of your parents and Nekemia and everybody here, right? They're a chesed person. That's a guarantee that our vidui will be what? Will be accepted. That's pretty incredible. The awesome power of what? Of tzedakah, which the Parsha here speaks about. And the Torah goes on over here and tells us, today you became God's people. Devarim 27, verse 9. Listen up, Israel. Hayom hazeh. Deuteronomy 27, 9. Moshe spoke to the Kahan and Levites, and he said, Shema Yisrael. Hayom hazeh niyet olam. Today you become God's people. What do you mean today we become God's people? We became God's people 3,329 years ago. So what do you mean today? So Rashi says, every day God takes us anew. The Torah and God is given to us what?
Every day.
Every day. Day by day. Hayom hazeh. And therefore we make the Birchat HaTorah. What do we say? Baruch Atu Hashem Notein HaTorah. You should say Natan. He gave it to us thousands of years ago. We say Notein HaTorah. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Therefore you say not Natan HaTorah, but Notein HaTorah. Hayom hazeh. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Right? Pretty interesting. And therefore it says Hayom hazeh. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells them in Deuteronomy 27, when you come into the land, the tribes will have to climb on top of Har Gerizim and the Har Eval and pronounce the blessings and the curses. And the people will have to say what? Amen. Amen, amen. Now, Rashi says something incredible. That here's a second Kabbalah Satorah, David. When the Jews crossed into Pisgat Zev, the land of Israel, they accepted the Torah again on Har Gerizim and Har Eval. I thought once is enough. We got the Torah in Har Sinai. But Rashi says no, in our Parsha, when the Jews came into Eretz Yisrael, they had to climb 2 mountains, not one, and accept the Torah again. Why? Once is not enough. Why? Why is once not enough? Right? Why do we have to accept the Torah a second time? You see clearly, if you look at Devarim 28, verse 69, Devarim 28, 69, these are the words of the bris that God commanded us, Be'eretz Moav, besides the bris that God made with us in Chorev. What does Chorev mean? Har Sinai. So Deuteronomy 28, 69 says, there's going to be a new Kabbalah Satorah. When the Jews enter Eretz Yisrael, they climb not Har Sinai, but they climb what? Bainish. No, Har Gerizim and Har Eval, and they accept the whole Torah again. Now if you look at Devarim 27, verse 26, Cursed is the person that doesn't accept the entire Torah. And Rashi says, here there was a new Kabbalah Satorah about to take place when they crossed into Eretz Yisrael. So why was it necessary? I thought that there was only one Kabbalah Satorah. But no. This week's Parsha, according to Rashi, shows us clearly that on top of Har Gerizim and Har Evel, there was a new Kabbalah Satorah. Why was it necessary? To answer this question, Yosef, we will what? Ask another one. There's one major difference between the Har Sinai experience and the one about to take place when we cross into Israel under Yeshua. At Har Sinai, the Jews were totally passive. No input, no reply. At Har Sinai, where did we look? We looked up. And we didn't say anything. We said Nasav and Ishma before the show. But after the show, when God pronounced the Ten Commandments, did we say anything? Nada. We said Nasav and Ishma before we heard anything. David. When God was speaking Ten Commandments, we were totally what? Passive. No reply. And we looked up. Here, take a look over here, Devarim 27. Verse 11, God commands Moshe to tell the people when they enter Israel, some of them will stand on Har Gerizim, and some of them will stand on what? On Har Eval. And Rashi quotes the Gemara Sota, 6 tribes went up to Har Gerizim, and another 6 tribes went up to Mount Eval, and the Kohanim and the ark stood where? In the valley between them. In the valley between them. And after each curse and each blessing, the people said what? Amen. Amen. Unlike the first Kabbalah Satorah, where the people were mute, here they answered, they were actively involved in the second Kabbalah Satorah. And instead of looking up to heaven, where did they look? They were on top of the mountain. And they were looking down. They were looking down. Hello? 40 years earlier, they were looking up. Didn't say nothing. Speechless. Here, a second Kabbalah Satorah and Gerizim and Har Evel, the Kohen, the Kohanim, and the Levites and the ark representing God stood down. So the people, instead of looking up, Yehuda, were looking down. And they answered. They were actively involved. Why? Why?
Is there a significance with who was picked for the blessings and the...
Good question. I don't know. Must be a significance, but this is God's command through his prophet. Certain tribes, what? Were for the bracha. Which one? Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, the woman. And the other for the klala, Reuven, Gad, V'asher, Zul, and Dan, Naphtali. Doesn't seem to be fair, right? But the Riyah Kodesh says that all of the klalas are really what, Benjamin? Hidden brachas. So no haflaya here. Even what looks like a klala is a hidden bracha. But I don't know, Yosef, why God said to do it this way. But the point I want to make is, when they got the Torah the first time, where did they get it? Chutz la'aretz, outside of Israel. So they looked up. They couldn't look down because outside of Israel, the land is what? Defiled. But here, where they're in Israel, they're looking down. They're looking down. Because Eretz Yisrael is the holy land. There's a mitzvah, Asafta de Ganecha. There's a mitzvah to work the land of Israel. The Asafta de Ganecha. So therefore, we look down. Because the land of Israel is Eretz HaKodesh. And in the land of Israel, we are God's partner. We have input. So we said, Amen. Unlike at Har Sinai, totally passive. Because we were in Chutz la'aretz. But in the land of Israel, where there's a mitzvah to work the land, in Eretz HaKodesh, we didn't look up. We looked down. Because in the land of Israel, where's God found? I just told you in the fruits and veggies. The Bach says, quoting the Zohar, that's why they look down. holy God is found in the produce of Eretz Yisrael. So they look down towards the ground. And whenever we work the land of Israel, we are God's partner in cultivating, developing the land. Eizes chus we have. V'yastafto deganecha. Rav Aryeh Levine, you heard of him, the great tzaddik, had a Jewish garbage collector on his street. And he said, Rebbe Yit, I envy you. He said, Rebbe, you're making fun of me. You're the biggest tzaddik in the world. I'm a garbage collector. He said, I'm chas v'shol, I'm making fun of you. Imagine what Moshe Rabbeinu would give to be in your shoes. Rebbe Yit, you're cleaning the streets of God's palace. Moshe would give his right arm to do what you do. And he wasn't Zoiche, and you are. So Rav Aryeh Levine, working the land of Israel, whatever you do, Vasafta deganecha, it's a mitzvah to work the land of Israel in any capacity. That's just incredible.
Any job you have here.
Any job you have here, you're doing a mitzvah. Right? You're developing the Holy Land. And we're God's partner. So we said, Amen, Amen. Unlike the first Kabbalah Torah, we were totally what? Mute. After we said Nasa v'Nishma, we didn't know anything.
And when you pay your cleaning lady, you're doing this for two because...
B'yomo titen schoro.
Making money in Eretz.
Right? That's right.
Do people still go to the mountains?
What? Har Gerizim and Har Evel?
When would the OU...
The OU went? Or the Good Samaritans go there, no? Why they call the Good Samaritans?
I served in the army, in an army base.
Yeah.
Across from it.
Yeah.
Road to Shem, and people do go.
People still go, but, right? The point is, all the land of Israel is holy, David. Wherever you go in the land of Israel, it's holy. Right?
Even
Right? Right? Every place in Eretz Yisrael is what? Beautiful and holy. And holy, nachon? Every place in Eretz Yisrael. Now, again, current events in the Chumash. The soldier Nebuch who's sitting in jail for killing a terrorist, he's still sitting in jail. What? To get a medal. So it looks like the Supreme Court is doing one mitzvah with all of the Hidurim. Look at Deuteronomy 28:28. Deuteronomy 28:28. Yak Hashem b'shigaon. God will strike your leaders with madness. Every soldier needs a lawyer before he what? Takes out a terrorist. Hello? So Elisheva, there's one pasuk that the Supreme Court, the low court, is doing very well. God will strike your leaders with madness. That every soldier needs a lawyer before he's allowed to take out a murderous terrorist. Okay? Then the Torah gives the whole list over here of all the terrible punishments that's going to come, chas v'shalom. And the Torah says, why is this happening? Deuteronomy 28, verse 47. Why is this happening? Deuteronomy 28, 47. Why? Because you didn't serve Hashem your God, b'simcha. Does that make sense? Doesn't say we didn't serve God, Ira. It says because we didn't serve God with joy. So that deserves these terrible punishments? The Baal Shem Tov says, I just don't get it. You hear the question on the table of Abraham? After terrible punishments here, Deuteronomy 28:47, this is coming on you, lo yaleinu, because you didn't serve God with joy. It doesn't say you didn't serve God. You didn't serve Him with joy. So Baal Shem Tov says, doesn't seem to fit, to deserve it, David. So he said, you have to know where to put the commas. Used to have a grandpa would live with us, so, I knocked on his door with my knife and fork, and I said, Grandpa, let's eat Grandpa. So he jumped out the window. Good thing it was a ground floor. Let's eat Grandpa, the basement apartment. I tried again. I said, let's eat Grandpa. Now you're talking, Sonny. What's for dinner? So if you don't know where to put the commas, you get all mixed. Says the holy Baal Shem Tov. Ooh. Look at the text in Hebrew. Tachas, because you didn't serve Hashem your God, comma, b'simcha, you're happy about it. Not only didn't you serve Hashem your God, but you were happy by not serving Him. That's what it means. Tachas, because Ashlo Evad Hashem Lakecha, you didn't serve Hashem your God, bad enough. B'simcha, what's worse than not serving God? Is to be happy about it. Worse than the sin is what? You're happy of the sin. That's what it means. And what's the proof of the Baal Shem Tov? God told Moses the Jews worship a golden calf. David, did Moses go ballistic? He took it very calm. God said the Jews worship a golden calf. He didn't get nervous. Every person sins. But if you sin with a guilty conscience, there's hope for you. He came down the mountain and he saw what? The dancing, the celebration. Then he went ballistic. Because worse than the sin is to be happy about it. Because then you'll never do tshuva. Everybody sins, but if you sin with a heavy heart, there's hope. You'll do tshuva. But if you're besimcha, you revel in your what? In your sinful behavior. As long as you're in the closet, there's hope for you. Right? But to celebrate, right?
Yeah.
To celebrate your perversion, what are you celebrating? That's even worse. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov says the pasuk means over here. So everybody sins, but when we sin, we should at least do it with what? With a heavy heart.
Right.
Not to be happy about it.
Stay in the closet.
Please.
Yeah. You know, every person sins, but if you stay in the closet, there's hope. You'll do tshuva. But if you're celebrating, you'll never do tshuva.
God help.
Right? Now, you could Google this. I'm not making it up. This Parsha was read the week of 9/11. You can go to YouTube and look it up. This Parsha was read the week of 9/11. You should know. Look at Deuteronomy 28:52. I don't know how the English has it, but I'll read it to you in Hebrew, Rav Avram. Deuteronomy 28:52. Remember, this is the week of the Shabbos that we read when the towers came down. And look what it says. God will cause you pain and suffering in your gates. Ad redet chomesecha hagvaot, until your huge towers come tumbling down. Now, how did God know this 3,329 years ago, the same week, Shirley, that we read this Parsha, 9/11? Again, Deuteronomy 28:52 in the Hebrew. God will cause you pain and suffering in your gates. Ad redet chomotecha hagvaot, until your high and exalted towers come crashing down. Isn't that amazing?
And the hurricane's coming this week too.
Wow. The week of what? Of 9/11? I don't know.
Look out, Muhammad.
What? You Googled it, right?
September 11th, H.com, September 11th, Torah reading, Thavo.
Oh! YouTube confirmed me. Eish Torah confirmed me, Baruch Hashem. But nothing, everything is in the Torah, David. Everything. It's amazing. You don't need no Bible codes, Reb Manish. You don't need no Bible codes. Again, current events. Devarim 28:41. Devarim 28:41. In the year 28:41. Children, sons and daughters you'll give birth, right? Does that what it say? Devarim 28:41. Sons and daughters you give birth. You won't have them. They'll go into what? Captivity. They'll go into captivity. Now, there's more than one type of captivity. A person living in democracy can also be a captive to his smartphone, to Facebook. There's more than one type of captivity. There's digital captivity as well. Many parents don't have their children. Their children are all, Maddie, they're spaced out. They can't stop twitching. I mean, they're sitting, their parents want to talk to them. Duh. They can't stop texting. They're mesmerized. Isn't that Chevy? Isn't that captivity where you won't have your own children? They're not talking to you. They're too busy texting. What? And the science, psychologists say they're becoming freaked out. They're becoming like depressed. That blue light hypnotizes them. They're hypnotized. They're captive. How did God know this 3,329 years ago? Digital slavery, captivity, Facebook, we Google, right? Right? You see people on a date, I'm not joking, people on a date, they're sitting in a cafe, instead of talking to each other, each one is playing around with his smartphone. They're sitting across from each other. It's sick and getting sicker. They can't stop.
They do it at the chuppahs also.
At chuppahs, right? They can't, even at funerals. Let the dead rest in peace. Lo Yalein, even at funerals.
That guy's not on his phone. He's not on his phone.
Now they bury you with your phone.
It's glued, you can't, the guy dies, you can't unglue this dumb phone, the smartphone from his hand. So we have to be aware not to go there. So why was there a new Kabbalah Satorah? Why is once not enough? If you just came to hear this, now hear this. The Moralmi Prague asked this question. Why we have to get the Torah once in Har Sinai and then when we came into Pisgat Zev again? To answer this question, he what?
Ask the question.
A Jew answers the question with? Surely, why not? So if you don't look in the text, you'll think I'm hallucinating. That's why I gave out the books. Devarim 29:3. In the year 29:3. Devarim 29:3. God did not give you a heart, eyes, ears until today. What do you mean God didn't give me heart, eyes, ears until today? I ain't got no body, says the Maral. Why did we eat man for 40 years, David? Why couldn't we eat real food? Because to have food, physical food, you need a body. God says you didn't have no physical body until today. What does that mean? In order to have food, you need a body. So therefore we had to get angel food because we had no body. Says the Moralmi Prague. Just like every human being, Yehuda, is made up of what? Body and soul. Is a body without a soul a human being? No. Is a soul without a body a human being? No. You can't have one without the other. Says the Maral, the same thing with the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel has a collective soul and has a collective body. When did the nation of Israel receive her collective neshama? At Har Sinai. At Har Sinai, when we got the Torah, we received our collective soul. But for 40 years, wandering in Chutz La'aretz, we were like a disembodied soul. So therefore, we couldn't eat normal food, Banish. We'd get a stomachache, or we had no stomach. So God had to give us angel food that the soul can relate to. Because for 40 years, the nation of Israel was like a disembodied soul. We had the Torah, but since we didn't have the land of Israel, we didn't have the collective body. Now we're about to cross into Israel. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu saying goodbye. So God says in Deuteronomy 29:3, God didn't give you a heart, eyes, ears, and a body until today. Because you were what? Living in Chutz La'aretz. The Torah is the neshama of Israel. Eretz Yisrael is what? The body of Israel. And you can't have one without the other. So the collective national soul, says the Maral, we got at Matan Torah and Har Sinai. But the collective national body, we only received, David, when we came to Pisgat Zev. Ad Hayom Hazeh. So therefore, we couldn't eat normal food. We didn't have a collective guf. We can eat soul food. Get it? I'm a soul man. And therefore, a new Kabbalah Torah was necessary. Here is Manish. The first Kabbalah Torah, that was for the soul. The second Kabbalah Torah, says the Maral and Har Gerizim and Har Eval, is not redundant, because when we came to Israel, we received a collective body. So you need a new Kabbalah Torah. Because until then, I ain't got nobody. I mean, collectively. So Maral says if you have Torah, but you're living in Borough Park, you're like a disembodied soul. If you live in Israel and you have no Torah, then you're like what? A guf b'li neshama. Either way, you're not a mensch. Right? You have Torah, but you don't have Eretz Yisrael, you're a disembodied soul. You have Eretz Yisrael and you have no Torah, then you're a body without a soul. Either way, you're not what? A mensch. So isn't that amazing? So therefore, the Torah says, God didn't give you a heart, eyes until now, and therefore, verse 5 says, Deuteronomy 29:5, you didn't eat normal food. You didn't eat normal food because you had no normal physical existence in what? In the Midbar. You did not receive your collective guf until you came to the Holy Land. Even though we had the Torah, and we had Moshe and Aaron, and we had the magic clouds of glory, and we had the mun, and Dan Quayle, and everything. But we didn't have Eretz Yisrael. We were like a disembodied soul. How do they learn this in Borough Park? I mean, they skipped this morale, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, they look at Deuteronomy 28:69. There was a new Kabbalah Torah. Rashi says clearly, besides the Torah we got at Har Sinai, we're going to get it again in Har Gerizim and in Har Eval. When we come to Eretz Yisrael, when we get our collective neshama guf, there has to be what? A new Kabbalah Torah. Isn't that unbelievable? Now, we know that the Torah doesn't repeat. If you go back to Devarim 28, Pasuk 9, God has set you up to be a holy people, as He swore to you, Deuteronomy 28:9. You shall observe His mitzvah, Hashem your God, and walk in His ways. Now, there's no redundancy. If it says you shall observe God's mitzvahs, how come you have to repeat walk in His ways? Isn't observing His mitzvahs walking in His ways? You see, how do they translate that in English? You have the 28:9.
You never confirm you to Himself as a holy people as He swore to you. You observe the commandments of the name of Hashem. Observe the commandments of Hashem your God, and you go in His ways.
Well, isn't observing the mitzvahs going in His ways, Arya? So why does it seems to be redundant? What's the difference? The observing His mitzvahs, aren't you going in His ways?
With Rachamim.
What?
You got to do it with God's ways.
V'lachta b'drachav. So my Rebbe Rapam asked this question. Baruch Hashem had great Rebbes. He asked this question. Along your lines, he answers. It's not enough to do mitzvot. You got to do it in God's way. Ira. But what does it mean? There's a pasuk in the Bircha Kohanim that the Kohanim bless us in Israel every day. Yor Hashem ponav elecha. May God shine His face on you. Says Rashi, ponim sachakot. God shows you a smiley face. Rashi in Parshat Birchot Kohanim. When the Kohanim bless us, may God shine His face on you. Says Rashi, God shows you panim sachakot. How do you say that in English, Shelley? Smiley face. Says my Rebbe Rapam, a person can do mitzvahs, but he does it with a sour face. He gets the mitzvah, but he's not walking in God's ways. Some people they can't smile. They're like constipated. Every time you smile on a fellow Jew, what mitzvah are you doing, Shirley? According to my Rebbe Rapam, which mitzvah are you doing? V'lachta b'drachav. V'alachta b'drachav. Smile, you're on candid camera, Mickey. Remember that show? Smile, you're on candid camera. So every time you smile on a fellow Jew, you're walking in God's way. A person can give tzedakah, but he gives it with a sour face. So he's doing the mitzvah, but he's not walking in God's ways. Right? Even if you can't give the money, give the guy a smile, give him a word of encouragement. That doesn't cost no money. Right? The Gemara Baba Basra says if you give tzedakah money, you get 6 mitzvahs. If you give money with a kind word, you get 11 brachas, not 6. Balachta b'drachav. Remember that show, Smile, you're on candid camera? Mm-hmm. He was Jewish. Alan Funt was Jewish. Smile, we're on candid camera. After 120 years, God will say, let's roll that tape. Let's go to the videotape. So you better smile. Because you don't want to see a frown after 120 when you and the big boss are watching that video and you have a sour puss. Right? It doesn't cost anything to smile. Wow. There's an amazing pasuk in Parshas Vayechi. In Parshas Vayechi, Ira. This is a word from Rapam Zatzal. I mean, Baruch Hashem had good rebbes and I took good notes. In Parshas Vayechi, Yaakov Avinu is on his deathbed. And he's blessing the brothers. And he blesses what? Yehuda. And he says that the Mashiach will have to come from Yehuda. And then he says, right after it says, La Yosa Shevit Yehudat Kiyove Shiloh, the Mashiach, Shiloh, Mashiach is called Shiloh. Shiloh, presence to him. Right after that, he says, Shiloh, Shiloh, presence to him, that the UN will give him presents. It's a pasuk in Tehillim 76. They're going to bring presents to the Mashiach, so he's called Shiloh. Shai in Hebrew means what? Presence, Shiloh. And right after that, Yaakov says to his son, Genesis 49, eyes more sparkling than wine, and teeth, what? Ulaben shinayim echalav. And teeth whiter, what? Teeth whiter than milk. What's that, a toothpaste commercial? I just don't get it, Shelley. He's speaking to Yehuda on his deathbed. Genesis 49, verse 12. I wonder how the Art Scroll translates that. Please give me a little more time. It's worth it. Genesis 49, 12. Eyes more sparkling than wine and teeth whiter than milk, right? Is that what it's saying in English?
Red-eyed from wine.
Red-eyed from wine. What does that mean?
And white tooth from milk.
What does that mean? He'll be a drunk? And he's going to do a toothpaste commercial? He's going to be a dentist? Shelley, what's going on? So if you didn't have my Rebbe Rapam Zeichat Tzaddik Avrachi, you wouldn't know. You can't trust the Art Scroll all the time. Right?
It's pretty good.
But my Rebbe translates, Chachlili enayim miyayin, eyes more sparkling than wine. Eyes that sparkle. When you looked at my Rebbe, his eyes were sparkling. Eyes that sparkle more than wine. Uleben shinayim mechalav. The Gemara in Ksubis says, when you show a toothy smile to a fellow Jew, it's more precious than buying him a milkshake. Wow. It's not a toothpaste commercial, no. Uleben shinayim, kama. If you show a white toothy smile, mechalav, it's more precious than buying a guy a milkshake. I love milkshakes. But in 1 minute, it's over. The taste is gone. If someone gives me a smile, it stays with me all day, perhaps all week. Yep. The milkshake is gone in an instant, right? And then you're thirsty again. When someone gives you a toothy smile, Rabbi Yosef, it's better than a milkshake. It stays with your soul. Says my great Rebbe. And what has it got to do with Mashiach? Right after he says that Shiloh, Mashiach will come from Yehuda, He says eyes more sparkling than wine, and giving a toothy smile is more precious than milk. What does it got to do with Mashiach? Why is it next door?
Nobody feels the pressure.
If you want Mashiach to come, says my great Rebbe Rapam, then smile on a fellow Jew. When you're smiling, when you smile on a fellow Jew, that's the way to bring Shiloh. Otherwise, Iro, the psukim don't seem to be connected. And my great Rebbes I had, great Rav Kamenetsky and Rapam, Zechtzag Rocha, and great Rav Gertzlin, Zechtzag, had great Rebbes. All of them, when you ever looked at their face, they were smiling and their eyes were always twinkling. Their eyes were sparkling. And always with a shmeichel. Because they practiced what they preached. And my Rebbe said, if enough Jews do that, instead of frowning on each other, you'll bring the Mashiach. That's the way to bring Mashiach. When we say good morning to somebody, he shouldn't give you a frown. Who are you to say good morning to me? Don't cost no money to smile, surely, right? Rapam, you remember Rapam. You remember him. The great tzaddik. Always schmeichling. And always eyes twinkling and sparkling. And the more of us do that, that's the way to what? To bring Mashiach. On Sunday we have a shiur. It's called the Rosh Hashanah, the Watergate, the double cover-up. There's a great double cover-up going on in Rosh Hashanah. Sunday, 2 o'clock, Rosh Hashanah's double Watergate.